Hello everyone, I'm back. I hadn't planned on making a video today, but I'm at a point where I need to demonstrate some of what I've got going on. So I'm going to show you where I am at now. All right, several of these proclaimed internet experts have been calling my car a Bondo Baby. For those that don't know, what that means is you take a car at its original shape and you say, I want it to look like this, and then you just slap on a bunch of body filler. Bondo's the cheapest you can get, and basically it's a disaster waiting to happen. The reason why is because then they want to drive it and keep it like that. After a year or two, what happens is, first off, it's heavy because Bondo's very heavy. Secondly, it's not very stable or sturdy. So after a year, 2 years, something like that, it starts cracking, chipping, starts looking bad. And so that's what they're accusing me of doing with this car. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay, so what I did was I have these molds of body panels, and they are actually for this car to make it into a C2 Retro. What I decided was, hey, I'm going to see if I can put it on a C8. So what I did was I made the actual body panels from the molds. This is how they came out of the molds. You can see that they're not absolutely perfect, but they're pretty good. Okay, so then what I did was I put them onto this car. Well, to make them fit, I had to do some adjustments. I had to cut the length there because the distance from the front to the door is a little bit different. I had to make notches to make it fit there. One of the big things is I changed the hood shape. So what I had to do was bond in the hood. If you can see, the original was square, just like the C2s were. The C8, it's this unusual shape with a W in the front. And I had a choice. I could have extended this out and left it square, but then the hood would way overhang the structure underneath, and I wanted to make it to where I kept all of the C8 mounting points as much as possible. So for me, it made more sense. Let me just reshape the hood opening, fiberglass this in to close it, and then cut a new opening. Okay, so they claimed that they were seeing all this Bondo. I don't know how they could see Bondo, because when you put it on there, you can't tell what's underneath. You can't tell how thick it is. Apparently they have x-ray vision that works over the internet. I don't know, I don't have that. I have x-ray vision that doesn't work over the internet. I don't know how theirs works over the internet. So what I had done was I had put primer on this. So what happened is originally a lot of the parts had gel coat on them, just like that. That's what makes it white. Raw fiberglass is this kind of tan color. I didn't put gel coat on the hood. I wish I would have, but it's hindsight. The other thing is I made it a little bit thinner than I should have. I wish it was a little thicker and stiffer. But again, now I know next time not to do that. So what I did was I put a layer of body filler, actually a couple layers. The way body work usually works is you put on body filler as smooth as you can. I'm not that great at it, so then you sand it smooth. You can see here that I got it as smooth as I could. I sanded it, and you can see that it's not quite perfect. It needs another. So then you just keep putting on more. You put on another layer, sand it out, put on another layer, sand it out, and eventually this low spot will get filled in when you sand off, and it'll be flat and smooth. The point here is that as I sanded through the body filler, I actually got down to the raw fiberglass underneath. What does that mean? Well, that means because this part came out of the mold and it was as straight as that was to start with, that these low spots where there's body filler can't be very thick, because there's fiberglass here, there's fiberglass here, there's fiberglass here. So there is a little bit of a low spot right there, but that low spot can't be that low if I see fiberglass in between all around surrounding it. See fiberglass here, see it right here. Now what I did do is the original hood had these vents. They call them floor mat vents, where it sunk down. I didn't like that, so I made this flat. On this side, what I did was I cut out the floor mat section, and then I raised it up, put wood behind it, got it all to the same level, put fiberglass all around the edge, and then I put a thin coat of body filler on there to get it all level, because there was some gaps around the edge where I cut it. Excuse the wind, but right now it actually feels good. It's 100 degrees out here, so least it's hot air blowing on me. Anyway, so this whole hood, I'd be shocked if there's a 1/16 of an inch body filler in the thickest spot, and I doubt there's even that much. You can see over here, there's virtually none. Oh, so then I put primer on it. Reason I put primer is I'm not real good at seeing low and high spots, looking at something that's like this, no gloss, 5 different colors. So when I put primer on there, I could see that there was a high spot right here. So I decided, I actually sanded down into the fiberglass here because I wanted this flatter than it was. Okay, so like I said, there's probably not more than a 1/16 of an inch anywhere on this. Same thing here. All I did was filled in some low spots right here. So this would be equivalent to, like right in here, there's a little bit of low spot. If you feel, you can't really see it, but there's a little bit of low spot. So again, less than a 1/16 of an inch. Over here on this side, I decided not to completely cut out the vent. I cut out the deepest part of it, raised it up, but the top part, it only came down, it slowly sloped down. So at some point I said, you know what, I'm just going to fill it in. So yeah, there is a little more Bondo right here. So you can see that's where the edge of the vent was. So I've got to do some work here. The other reason why I went ahead and put the primer on it was I put the primer on there, sanded it with 400 grit. That gave it an almost glossy surface, so that allowed me to see what the surface texture, actually the surface shape was. And that's where I saw the high spot in the middle that I sanded down. The reason I did that was I needed to work on this side. Well, this side has a definite hump right here. So I had to decide, did I want to raise up the passenger side to match this, which would have been easier, but I personally didn't like the hump. So instead I said, let me go get that passenger side, the shape I want. Next step, I'll go in and grind this down and fiberglass it and make it match that side. Okay, so again, there is quite a bit of Bondo. I say quite a bit, let's say 1/4 of an inch, maybe. I don't even know if there's that much. Right at this very edge, and then it gets less and less as it comes down. Okay, what else? Oh, and so these side vents. So this right here, every place where there were vents, if you look, there are vents right behind the fender on this one. Well, the edge is closer to the wheel, so I had to get rid of the vents. What I did there was I took this, put tape, this aluminum tape on the back side, and then put fiberglass on top of it. Got this shape as close as I could to the right shape, and then put Bondo on there, actually body filler on there, to get it to where it was all smooth. Same thing here, did the same thing. Got that reinforced aluminum tape, made the basic shape as close as possible, and then put fiberglass over it, and then took body filler and put it on there. Get back here, I made these pieces from pieces of tubing and whatever. This is the actual fender. Underneath this, I raised up this eyebrow, but when I did, there's actually foam underneath here. So I shaped it to the right shape with foam, then I put fiberglass on top of that, and then again, a skim coat of body filler just to get it smoother and flatter and get the shape like I wanted, or actually the surface texture. These vents, I made a mold for one vent, and it is from a previous car. This is what the vent on that car looked like. Decided we wanted it more rounded to match the back edge of the door. So went in there, put foam on here, put fiberglass on top of the foam, and then put, again, a skim coat of body filler on there. You can see the same thing when I sanded it flat. I actually sanded through to the fiberglass underneath. Made one of these vents out of fiberglass, actually made 3 of these vents out of fiberglass, screwed them together, and that's where that comes from. And then all we did was took it and smoothed it, contoured it, but you can see that that's real close between what we started with and what we ended up with, so there can't be a whole lot of body filler right there. Same thing all around the car. I basically took the body panels that I had, moved them, filled in the gap, fiberglassed it in place, and then just used enough body filler to fill in the gap between making it pretty close and making it close to perfect. It's still far off from perfect, but making it better. Anyway, I just wanted to cover that and let people know that these internet experts, or people that think they're internet experts and can have their x-ray vision and see that my car apparently is a Bondo Baby, well, they're completely full of crap. So anyway, that's all I have. I have been doing nothing but sanding. I'm getting ready to put another coat of primer on this. Like I said, they gave me crap. I don't care. I'm going to put primer on here. I'm going to sand it flat. There are spots that I know need work. I can see a spot right there. It's low. There's a couple of spots right there that need work. Rather than sit here and try to get this whole surface perfect, what I'm going to do at one time, what I'm going to do is put primer on here, sand it with 400 grit, and it will be smooth and flat everywhere except for where there's a low spot. So my goal was to get rid of all of the high spots and then isolate it to the low spots that need work, and then spot fix those. So some people are giving me a hard time about that because they say, oh, well, you can't fix one area and not fix the whole area at the same time. Well, that's retarded, because if that was the case, then there'd be no such thing as fixing one fender on a car. If you use their approach that, well, if you fix one fender, then you have to redo the whole car. No, you fix where it needs to be fixed and you leave the rest alone. So that's my approach here. So I've got it close enough for me. So I'm going to put a coat of primer on here. The first coat of primer, I used a paintbrush. I'm going to get in the shade because it is hot in the sun. All right, so the first coat of primer, I actually used a paintbrush because I actually used it non-thin because the instructions said you could. It said you can use it to fill. They did warn that if you do that, it dries pretty quick, and they weren't kidding. It dries really, really quick. So I did that first, sanded it smooth. Then once I did that, then I used a roller and rolled paint on, and then I took that and I sanded that with the 400 grit to get it flat. That allowed me to see all the low spots and identify them and then decide what to do about them. So if you look at it, that's exactly what I did here. So this flat area that you see, this is where it's sanded with the 400 grit. These rough areas that you see are where it's still low. So that allowed me to determine where it was still low. And then, like I said, I had to decide, well, do I raise up this or do I lower that? And in order to do that, I decided I would fix the passenger side, get it like I want. Now my goal will be to get the two sides to match. Hopefully in the next video, you will see the passenger side of the hood in its close to done shape. And then I'll show you how I'm going to copy that shape over to the driver's side. And I'm basically going to start working my way around the car counterclockwise, start working my way back and make this side of the car match that side of the car. All right, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit that thanks, give me a donation if you want, entirely up to you. But I just wanted to update you on where I am. And the reason I did this is because I'm getting ready to put primer on there, so I couldn't show you how thin. Once I put the primer on there, you can't see how thin that coat is. But literally, it's going to be the thickness of the layer of a coat of primer, whatever that is. So there's not a whole lot of filler, there's not a whole lot of primer on this. There's just enough to do what needs to be done. I will see you next time, and if you don't know what I'm doing, you don't know jack. Bye.